China's first tourism law comes into effect. Tourists issue manner guides. Travel operators in China have a huge new set of rules to follow now that the country's first tourism law is in place. Approved in April, the 112 article law came into effect October 1st and aims to promote sustained industry growth. It includes measures to address issues, mostly in the domestic industry, such as tourist safety, unfair competition, and forced shopping trips, in which agencies offer cheap tours but recoup their costs from commissions in partnerships. A report by state. Run Media Xinhua claims tour operators in China have hiked their prices as a result. Hong Kong Travel Industry Council Executive Director Joseph Tang Yao Zhang told Mingpao, a Chinese-language Hong Kong newspaper, that a total of 250 Chinese tourist groups registered to come to Hong Kong on October 1st, Hong Kong's National Day, 30% fewer than last year. However, the hope is that the new law will help the industry regulate itself in the long run. Price wars were vicious in the past, while the recent rises are a sort of reasonable return to fair competition, said Wang, director of the Research Center of Leisure Economy of China, in a Xinhua report. The tourism law also includes rules on state development planning. Tour guides and agencies that break the new law face steep fines of up to RMB 300,000, equals to 49,000 US dollars. Though the new law deals mainly with domestic tourism, there are sections that cover the rights of outbound travelers in their dealings with Chinese tour companies. Tackling global criticism. By 2015, 100 million Chinese will travel abroad, according to the UN World Tourism Organization. In 2012, Chinese overtook Americans and Germans as the world's top tourism spenders, with 83 million people spending a record $102 billions on international tourism. Coinciding with all that growth has been a surge in criticism of the way Chinese travelers behave while on the road, and it hasn't gone unnoticed in Beijing. Earlier this year, Chinese Vice Premier Wang Yang called on his nation's tourists to improve their manners, stressing the importance of projecting a good image of Chinese tourists. Tourists' behavior is even singled out in a couple articles of the new law. Article 14 states, tourists shall observe public order and respect social morality in tourism activities, respect local customs, cultural traditions, and religious beliefs, care for tourism resources, protect the ecological environment, and abide by the norms of civilized tourist behaviors. In September, China's National Tourism Administration issued an illustrated 64-page guidebook for civilized tourism to instruct citizens on social norms overseas. The booklet covers everything from reminders to say please, thank you, and excuse me to specific cultural items, such as one that says, in Iran, do not talk about babies' eyes. When we are visiting a foreign place, we are the guests and have to treat the host with respect, says the guide. Coming on the tales of globally excised incident earlier this year when a Chinese tourist was caught defacing a stone sculpture in an ancient Egyptian temple with graffiti. Point 8 in the first section of the guide reminds visitors to respect historical relics and do not scribble on, climb on, or touch them. Other items remind tourists not to spit in inappropriate places, not to litter, and only defecate in designed places. Other notable inclusions: photography. When taking photos in tourist spots, do not fight and be patient. Do not force the others to take a picture with you, nor obstruct the others when they are photographing. If you would like the others to take a picture for you, say thank you. Toilet use. Do not occupy the public toilet for a very long time. Do not leave footprints on the toilet seats, and flush after use. On tipping. Service industries in a lot of countries honor tipping. If you think the service is good, please tip accordingly. At the buffet table. When you are at a buffet dinner, only take what you can consume. Do not waste food. Taking in a show. Respect the performers. Clap after the show to show your gratitude to the performance. During curtain call, join the crowd for a standing ovation. If a performer sleeps on the stage, be understanding but do not cheer. Whistle and jeer. Cultural considerations. Another section of the guide covers items such as proper airline etiquette and how to check into a hotel, while part 3 deals with specific cultural situations. In the UK, do not greet the others by asking them questions like "Where are you going?" or "Have you eaten yet?" as you would in China. In Korea, do not pick up your chopsticks before your senior and face sideways when drinking alcohol beverages. In Italy, do not give someone a handkerchief. In Italy, it is considered an omen for wiping ears when you lose someone. In Spain, ladies should wear earrings when going out, otherwise it is the same as going out naked. Drive-in Google Glass, get a ticket. In what might be a first, a woman in California received a traffic ticket for wearing Google Glass while driving. Cecilia Abadi was pulled over for speeding on Tuesday in San Diego and given an additional citation for driving while wearing her Google Glass. The officer considered the head-mounted display a monitor that was visible to the driver. Shocked, Abadi posted a copy of the ticket on Google+. Traffic laws vary state by state, but many now we have broad distracted driving laws or bans on certain monitors that could easily apply to Google Glass. The California law cited in Abadi's case is meant to prevent people from watching television while driving. There are exceptions for GPS and mapping tools and screens that display camera fits to help the driver navigate. If a device has a safety feature that limits its display to approved uses while driving, it can be allowed. I think the law is broad enough to say it violates the law, said San Diego attorney Mitchell Maddy, also known as Mr. Ticket. Maddy has been working in traffic law for 25 years and say that there is the first case he'd heard of involving Google Glass. Betty says her Google Glass was not turned on when she was pulled over, and that the officers say the screen was blocking her view. The Google Glass display is located slightly above the right eye, not directly in front of the eye. Google does warn users about running afoul of traffic laws in its Google Glass FAQ. Most states have passed laws limiting the use of mobile devices while driving any motor vehicle, and most states post those rules on their Department of Motor Vehicles websites. Read up and follow the law. However, in another section of navigation, it says glass can give turn-by-turn directions, whether you are on a bike, in a car, taking the subway, or going by foot. Glass fans defended the technology in comments on the Betty's post, saying that the voice activated screen close to the eye could actually be safer than trying to check a smartphone or other monitor while driving. Glass is far safer than any other means of information delivery. It is out of your view and not distracting, said Aaron Caston, who compared it to checking speed and other information on a car's dashboard, which requires taking your eyes off the road. The turn-by-turn directions on glass can be turned on with a voice command. The display will show a map view, but for extra safety, the screen can be turned off while driving, so there's only voice navigation. A Google Glass spokesperson didn't address the ticket directly, but emphasized responsible Google Glass usage, saying, "As we make clear in our help center, explorers should always use glass responsibly and put their safety and the safety of others first." More broadly, glass is built to connect you more with the world around you, not distract you from it. Betty could take the case to court and try to get the Google Glass portion of the ticket dismissed. How can this officer prove that this display was being activated or was actually on at the time, and what kind of signal she's getting, said Maddie. State laws are always adapting to new technology, and Google Glass is still a somewhat rare sighting. The device is only available as part of a beta program and is not yet sold commercially. According to Maddie, new technology is tempting targets for law enforcement looking for new ways to bring in money. There's a wealth of revenue to be generated from technology. The traffic law enforcement is coming and saying, "Wow, we've got this new incredible device and we want our piece too," said Maddie, with a mandatory minimum fine in California is $162. This is just the beginning of more tickets for Google Glass wearers, according to Maddie. Law enforcement is increasingly enforcing distracted driving laws. During the month of April, there were more than 57,000 distracted driving tickets issued in California as part of Distracted Driving Awareness Month, according to the California Office of Traffic Safety. Steve Jobs' boyhood home becomes historic site. It may look not spatial, but a modest 1950s French-style house in the suburban Bay Area neighborhood is now a protected historical site. The single-story house at 2066 Crest Drive in Los Altos, California, is the family home where young Steve Jobs built the first Apple computers in the mid-1970s. The Los Altos Historical Commission voted unanimously Monday night to designate the house as a as a historic resource, meaning any future renovations to property will need to be reviewed by the city. The basis for the historical for this historic designation is not the age or architecture of the structure. It is with the property's association with an event and an individual of historic significance. City staff Legion Zachary Dell wrote in a report to the commission. The house is now eligible to be named by the city of Los Altos as a historic landmark. A higher level designation and potentially listed on state and national registers of historic places. Jobs moved to the house with his foster parents as a 7th grader and lived 3 through high school in the attached garage. He and Steve assembled the first 50 Apple I computers in 1976. The pair sold them to Paul Terrasbyte's shop in Mountain View for $500 each. How Steve Jobs' legacy has changed. 9 months later, in 1977, Apple Computer was formally established and moved its operations to nearby Cupertino. One of the original computers later sold at an auction for $231,000. Jobs went on to become a visionary who built Apple in the world's most valuable company and changed the face of computing. Steve Jobs is considered a genius who blended technology and creativity to invent and market a product which dramatically changed 6 industries: personal computers, animated movies, music, phones, tablet computing, and digital publishing, according to the property valuation. The 3-bedroom, 2-bath house was built in 1952 and is valued at $1.6 million, according to real estate website. It's currently owned by Jobs' adoptive sister, Patricia Jobs. Insider Guide: Best of London. Buckingham Place, the Dickens Museum, Hyde Park, Hitchcock Walking Tour, Kew Gardens, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, St. Paul's Cathedral, the Thames, Wimbledon. These are just a few examples of the best of London. It should be no surprise that a city 2,000 years old is an alphabetic mishmash of things to gulp at. But like a Dickensian novel, the best of London's real character seeps out of the cracks that split its major attractions. Yes, London is the world's financial capital along with New York. Yes, it's Europe's cultural hub. And yes, but more than 300 languages are spoken within its perimeter. But we don't hear about any of that. The city got a no-nonsense squabbling in the lead-up to its extravaganza of an Olympics last year. Transport links were improved, hotels had facelifts, and restaurants were refitted. London looks better as a result, and now, before the dust and grime settle down again, it's a great time to visit the city. The Savory. It came a year late and £100 million over budget, but in October 2010, One of the world's most legendary hotels opened its doors after a rumored £200 million facelift. Unlike some facelifts, however, the results for this old lady, now owned by an Arab sheikh and run by Canadians, are impressive. Perfectly located for the shops of Covent Garden and the cinemas of Leicester Square, it was Marilyn Monroe's London hotel of choice, and if you can stretch to the £450 minimum nightly fee, it's likely to become yours. The acclaimed Savory Grill, now in the hands of Azoric celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay, did not expect the steaks to be as blue as his language. Can be expensive, but it's not overpriced. Charlotte Street Hotel, situated in London's Media neighborhood just north of Soho, this former dental hospital now contains 52 individually designed rooms, including loft and penthouse sites. The huge, comfortable beds and trademark published granite and oak bathrooms are suitably indulgent, and some rooms have luxuriously high ceilings. Tip: if you can afford it, go for one of the split-level loft sites. Among other things, they feature TVs in the bathroom. Dining. Great fix. All the places to see iconic monuments. If the crowds on the Paris Eiffel Tower get you down, try Shenzhen in China. It may not have the history of the French construction, but at least the coffee will be cheaper. Or you could head to Berlin or to Las Vegas or several other locales with their own Eiffel Towers. The replication of tourist attractions has been gaining traction in recent years. Most recently, a Spanish company has been employed to replicate Egypt's ancient pharaonic tombs, opening to the public later this month about half a mile from the original tomb in Luxor's Valley of the Kings. The replica will be located outside the house of Howard Carter, the expedition leader who disinterred the pharaoh almost a century ago. The reconstruction is a response to the threat posed by hundreds of thousands of tourists traipsing through the relic every year. Changes in temperature and humidity caused by their presence in the burial chamber have caused the striking plaster-painted murals of the walls to begin crumbling away. Tut's new tomb. The solution was for the Madrid-based company Factum Art to create replicas of King Tut and the other pharaonic tombs, including Seti I and Nefertari, as a philanthropic exercise granted permissions by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities in 2009. The firm used minutely detailed, high-tech techniques honed on reproductions over the past decade, including copies of the pharaoh Thutmose III's tomb in 2003, and more recently of Leonardo's painting, The Last Supper, and Caravaggio's inspiration of St. Matthew. The replication of King Tut's and the other royal tombs represents the company's most ambitious project to date, as well as being the most detailed large-scale facsimile project ever undertaken, Factum Art says. Special 3D scanning systems were developed for the job, allowing the bureau chamber to be measured at 100 million points every square meter. The resulting 3D relief of the tomb was then reproduced on casts that were finished by hand. Is it exactly the same as viewing the real tomb? No, but what you can do is exceedingly high, Adam Law, Factum Arts director, told CNN. You can rematerialize the quality of the original at a normal viewing distance, so the experience is visually identical to standing in the tomb. It's not exercise in faking, but partly about revealing the condition of the original to allow it to be monitored. It's estimated that 500,000 visitors a year will visit the replica relics, the resulting funds going in part towards preserving Egypt's real heritage sites. Cool copycats. Copying an ancient monument has an obvious appeal. You get to the original version as well as all the tourists and their revenue threatening to destroy it. The same motivation lay behind making glance copies of the Altamira and Las Coques caves in Spain and France, respectively, when exposure to the elements and awestruck visitors' breath threatened to turn the vast galleries of prehistoric paintings they contain into mold. The motives for replicating other tourist attractions around the world, however, seems less concerned with their heritage value. If you think the Eiffel Tower is intimately associated with Paris, for example, you may be surprised to find more or less life-size versions of it in Las Vegas, Berlin, India, China, to actually in Hanzhou, Han, Shenzhen, and Fez, Morocco. Hong Kong's best no reservations restaurants. The Brits gave Hong Kong some good stuff: efficient public transportation, afternoon tea, respect for the quack. The last one might explain why the no reservation restaurant trend has recently made a successful leap into Hong Kong. Best of all, many no reservations venues are rewarding customers for all that waiting around with no service charge policy. Desperation, resilience in Tacloban. We really don't know what we are going to do. People sift through debris in the dark, wading through murky puddles formed after frequent heavy rain showers along some streets. Groups sit among the stinky piles of wreckage, huddled around small fires cooking food. This is life in Tacloban, or more accurately, people's attempts to hold on to life. So much has changed over the past 6 days in the Philippine city on the Pacific Ocean, some 575 kilometers southeast of Manila. That's when early last Friday, Super Typhoon Haiyan stormed through with sustained winds of 315 kph and gusts of 380 kph. The evidence of Haiyan's power is everywhere. Most buildings are damaged, if not destroyed. Bloated corpses of dogs lie on the ground, next to body bags containing human remains. While in the intensity surprised some, most residents knew something big was coming. Mangula, 30, was among those who heeded officials' warnings and take shelter at the Tacloban Convention Center. She and some others managed to get to the building's higher levels when the devastating storm surge rolled in from the sea. The last move may have saved their lives. Many who remained on the ground floor were killed or injured, according to Gula and her friend, Lena. By Thursday, Gula and her relatives huddled in the room on the building's ground floor along with members of 7 other families. Their homes destroyed, they and others have transformed the buildings into a living space of sorts. Clothes hanging from the upper floors and makeshift shelters constructed from storm debris have sprung up around it. Finally, on Thursday, they tasted rice, the staple of Filipinos' diets, for the first time in a week after it was given out on the convention center for the first time since the typhoon struck. But they say they didn't know when the next delivery might come, nor do they know what they'll do or what they'll go from here. Said Gula, we really don't know what we are going to do next. There are flickers of normal life around Tacloban. A pig shrieking as it's being pushed in the building for slaughter, an animal carcass butchered in front of another structure, a few vendors selling pork, but for the most, food remains desperately scarce. At the airport, you see large groups hoping to leave this shattered city. A crowd of people taking shelter from the fierce sun and intermittent rain under colorful umbrellas snakes out of the remnants of the terminal building and into the wreckage-laden parking area. Some seem particularly in need of quick exits. One man stands holding an intravenous drip for his wife, who sits on a chair clutching a pallid young child. No one knows whether they'll make it out before it's too late.